And at this time, I'd like to ask Beth Scheid to install a new board member.
We're doing,
Well, we've done a rehearsal.
every week, but
Every week.
Done a
Okay,
rehearsal.
we do this every week until you really get it down.
Until you get it right.
Oh my God, please stand, please. And repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Library Trustee
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Library Trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then you'll be able to sign
You're
it.
very
What did he do?
Are you calling the roll, Becky?
I think I am.
Okay, please.
Unless you want to.
No, I'd like you. Unless Beth wants to.
Jenny Williams,
Chris
Anna Merritt,
Here.
Beth Scheid,
Here.
Chris Schurer.
Here.
Mark Nitter.
Here.
Michael Weissman.
Here.
Jeff Bant.
Here.
Aho. And Bill Brown.
Okay, we have on the agenda additional corrections, modifications to the agenda. We had one item we might have added, but we're not going tonight. So does anybody have anything?
Anna's got something.
Anna?
I'm going to add the memorandum of understanding to the report from the Friends.
And
Under
it's,
the memorandum of understanding that
and
was,
it's an item for discussion, so it won't be a vote.
that's correct, just an item for discussion.
Okay. Approval of the agenda then as it stands. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we have some public comment? One public. Okay. Presentations. Who's up? MC.
Evening, board members. I will be briefly touching upon Chapter 5 of the Standards for Illinois Public Libraries. No PowerPoint presentation tonight, just the checklist that you all should have in front of you. Chapter 5 from the Standards for Illinois Public Libraries is an assessment of the library's current technological state. The checklist within the chapter covers a variety of technology-based services and solutions. There are a total of 19 standards on the checklist, and 16 of those we are actively meeting. The chapter heavily echoes what I previously discussed at the August board meeting regarding the library edge assessment and the October board meeting regarding the library's technology plan. That being the case, to avoid an immense amount of redundancy this evening, I'm only going to touch upon the 3 standards that we were unable to mark off on the list and have some time for any other questions outside of those 3. The library's website currently is not ADA compliant, and that actually causes us to miss the requirements of 2 of the standards on the checklist. Presently, plans are in motion for us to bring full ADA compliance to our website. We do not have an exact date at this point, but we are shooting for some time within the next 3 months. Some of the fixes are on our end, which we hope to get done prior to the 3-month mark, but others are on our website provider's end, which is the News Gazette. Our service plan with the News Gazette provides us with a certain amount of hours each month to go towards development on the website, and anything above and beyond that we have to pay extra for. The amount of work that needs to be done will involve approximately 3 months of our allocated monthly allotment. And so the idea is that we'll spread the work needed across the 3 months so that we'll be able to get everything updated without incurring any additional expenses. After that, the site will be checked monthly by staff members to ensure that we maintain ADA compliance. The 3rd standard left unchecked on the list is E-rate. And the library's participation with E-rate is best explained by our manager of acquisitions, Karen Harrington. And so as she deals with it directly, and I met with her and she informed me that E-rate is 2-part, internet and telephone systems. The telephone portion we would apply for, but unfortunately they have not funded that portion of E-rate for some years now. The other portion, internet, requires filtering of web traffic. The library stance has been not to filter web traffic, as the belief is that it would hinder people's access to information. Even if we did decide to filter web traffic, a large amount of E-rate funding goes to smaller libraries in rural areas, as they figure the money is needed there more. So we still may end up not receiving any funding, even if we did apply. Lastly, a substantial amount of paperwork is required that historically does not make the process worthwhile. So we may receive funding, but it could be overshadowed by the amount of staff time that is spent filling out all the paperwork throughout the process. So just quickly to recap, out of the 3 standards we currently would not mark off of the list, one being E-rate is by choice, and the remaining 2 will be met within a few months once everything is complete with making the website ADA compliant. With that, are there any questions? Or
Is it a serious omission to not do that one?
The ADA compliant?
Yeah.
Or the,
No,
E-rate.
the one you said, eBay?
E-rate.
Rate, E-rate.
E-rate, like
E-rates.
E-rate.
Back up a second. We all pay a little portion of our phone bill to that, or used to. I haven't looked recently, but that goes into the E-rate bin. It's
Would the
supposed to- it's
library
supposed to
already
come
pay
back.
that too?
Probably. I think it's on every phone bill, individual landlines,
Yeah,
not cells.
yeah, landline. I guess I'm just wondering if is that a omission going to be vital to us trying to do something with it, or what?
historically, it has not been, and there are plenty of other libraries that are currently in a similar situation as we are, and they are not
Okay,
applying.
okay.
either.
Nancy, I'm just curious on the ADA compliance, are the changes things like, colors and fonts, and so some of them we can control, but the ones that we outsource, they have to change that? Is that more the nature of the compliance?
Exactly. It's a multitude of things, font size being one of them, color contrast, putting alt tags in the images so that screen readers will be able to let the person know what the image is of. To safeguard the website, News Gazette has blocked a lot of things that is the main foundation of the website. So those particular areas, they will have to go in and change. And the content that we actually add, we'll go back and make sure that things were done correctly. And again, moving forward, we'll make sure everything is ADA compliant as well.
Thanks.
I have just a quick question. The second little box down, a third one down, library provides a sufficient number of patron-accessible workstations. That word sufficient, how do you interpret that? I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Great question. Our reservation system actually allows us to run reports, and so we're able to see on a monthly basis how many systems are in use on average. And so we just make sure that the average number of systems that we use are less than the amount that we have available. Also getting feedback from adult services staff, seeing if there's any wait time, how many people are having to make reservations in advance because systems are not available. So it's a multitude of things, but every angle we considered, we were.
You don't worry about them turning around and saying, well, we don't think that's sufficient.
No, ma'am.
Okay, good, thanks.
I've got my grouchy hat on tonight, so this is just so incredibly bureaucratic. I mean, I looked at this, and I started counting, and we have 19 different standards with 64 bullets under them to check off. And I also missed the referral to the applicable core standards, which are another eight references in here. Who puts this stuff out? I'm sorry, I know I'm a little sarcastic here, but, and all of this is good. I'm not complaining at all. I mean, we should be ADA compliant. We should have all the equipment that's on here, but this just seems to me, particularly for the smaller library, to be a monumental waste of time. Complying with the paperwork, not complying with the spirit of it in the services we offer. And it seems to look backwards. I don't see anything referring to new technologies in here that aren't commercially available right now. Evaluating, it's backwards. Scanners, photocopiers, make sure we have an address in the phone book. I mean, they're gonna be, sooner or later, there are gonna be libraries built in places where they can't get the copper twisted pair wire.
It actually has a kind of a dated feel to it,
Yeah.
especially talking about, the TDD devices, and rather than talking about, there are much better devices available, in more digital technology means, but things are just slow to catch up. So I'm guessing the next round, and do we have a chance to provide feedback for what we're being asked to respond to and say, boy, this feels dated, and you might consider coming into the 21st century as for some of these questions. This does have a 20th century feel to it.
There is a submission for this chapter, and I will be making a condensed version of what I explained here. I'm not sure if there's, that would be a question for Kathy, if there's anywhere to make feedback on the things that are included in the chapters or in the checklist. I am unsure.
Yeah, just kind of curious.
Well, is filling this out an unfunded mandate? I guess. I mean, what do we
Well,
get
it's
for filling it?
funded. This is what helps, this is part of what we have to do in order to receive the per capita money, which for us is about $52,000 a year.
Okay. And do we know what we spend complying with that?
To read the chapter and answer the question, it doesn't.
Okay.
You're volunteers, your time is free. Ha ha.
No, I understand. I understand. I'm not saying I disagree with the spirit of it at all. It's a good list, but it just has that bureaucratic, you will do this or we're going to come and get you.
And it's funded by
Approach to
whom?
it.
Secretary of State?
Right, because the Department of Libraries is under the
Libraries is
Secretary of
under
State. The standards are put out by the Illinois Library Association, and I'm pretty sure that this particular, this is from 2014, so they're fairly current.
Yeah.
I'm sure that when they do revisions, they're happy to have people volunteer their suggestions. So I can take what you're giving us tonight and send that along for when they're doing their next revision. Absolutely, we can share that.
Might make it worse.
Other thoughts?
Is
Jeff?
there another standard available? I mean, is there another similar kind of assessment that is done by ALA or something like that that would give you, would mean that you wouldn't need as many of these things, that it would be more forward thinking?
The next one would be the Edge. The
Oh,
fire
yeah,
test one.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, nice job in working through them all.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
thanks.
At least we know somebody's looking.
Oh,
Okay, Laura, thank you.
Turn down the lights a little bit.
Oh, mood, music?
I'm good. I don't
The new project.
Right.
Check with,
Yeah.
check with the techie, hey?
Yeah, he said it all right, so. I should sit down so that you guys can see. So I'm doing a little presentation on how the Urbana Free Library is advancing literacy in the community. And we have,
Speaking of which.
that's right.
We have, the library does many programs, but really programs that are primary programs that are geared specifically toward literacy, and then we have a lot of support programs that support literacy, but they're not specifically for literacy. Oh, and I forgot, I put on there, I was supposed to introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Laura Fegley, and I'm the Director of Children's Services here at the library. So one of the primary programs that we do is a summer reading program. We've done this for years and years. And this year we did Read to the Rhythm was our theme, and that is from birth to 6th grade. And Escape the Ordinary, which was grades 7 through 12, and then Reading Rewards is the adult program. And this is the second year that we've done the adult program. I hope some of you participated. I know I got my free book
I did too.
this year. That was great. So this is the statistics for the adult program. And you can see that we had a few more participants this year. We had some more finishers. The completion rate was much better than last year. And more reviews were written, and that was weird, 100 more books. Exactly 100 more books were read this year by the adult services, by the adults. And I'm sure that will continue to expand. The teen program even though the completion rate does not show, went down a little bit, we had many more people participating in the program. And we had more finishers, many more pages read than last year, and lots more reviews were written. So we felt like that was that was successful. So.
What does completion rate mean? What is it?
Those are people that have, we have specific benchmarks that we want them to meet. So they've read a certain amount of books, and so they get a free book or a prize, or their name in a raffle, or it just kind of depends on
They
the
could have
program.
continued with the program all the way along
Oh,
and then
sure.
fallen down at the last couple of weeks or something and not completed it, but done them
Right. Maybe they got, they were out of town.
another time or something.
So 15 is the number of youth that participated in the library program from the Champaign County Juvenile Detention Center. And we work with volunteers who went into the detention center and brought books for them. And we thought that was great. That was most of the children,
Yeah, you got it
most
right.
of the children that were in there. And I have to say, one day Amber and I were setting up for a program in here, and one of the young men that had been through the program came in and just said, he had participated in the program and he had been told to come into the library and visit, and so he was here. Yay! So that was great. We were very happy to see that. So the children's program this year, you can see we did better. We had more participants. We felt like it was a little more fun. We did minutes this year as opposed to books, so we were trying to just change it up a little bit. And I don't know, it just had, even though we had the hamster last year, this year still felt somehow just a little more fun. We had more finishers, we had a higher completion rate, and like I said, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges because last year we did books and this year we did minutes, and we haven't decided what we're going to do. We've been kind of pooling parents to see what they like to log better, and there's some of them like the books and some of them like the minutes. So, literacy, when we're talking about literacy, this is the number of children that start kindergarten in Urbana that are not ready to learn. They're just not ready to learn. This came from the school district. And so, we really try to get the kids young so that they're ready to start to learn. So this is information according to the school district. Now, this comes from a report by the U.S. Department of Education. It was done in the 80s, and the quote was, "The single most important activity for building the knowledge required for eventual success in reading is reading aloud to your child." So, it's so important, and we really try to stress that. So, did you know that children who are read to at an early age are more successful in school? Reading aloud to infants and children encourages social, emotional, and cognitive development. The ability to learn language skills is greatest before the age of 6. And children who are read to have a bigger vocabulary when they start school. So reading aloud to children is very important. So in order to encourage this, we started a program called, well, it's a nationwide program, but we launched it in our library, and it's called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. And there's little Stella, and she's finished her 100 log. And so parents read to their children. Obviously, it's before kindergarten, so mostly the parents are reading to their children, and they're logging the books. And when they get to each milestone, 100, 200, 300, the children come in, we take their picture, we give them a sticker, we put their picture on the website. We make a big deal about it and congratulate them. And it's been successful so far. We have 125 participants already. We started October 1st. We've had some children actually have gotten their 300 sticker in their log. Once they get 500, they'll get a free book, and after 1,000, they'll get a free book also. There's a phone app that you can use with this. We have literature, because a lot of people say, well, what books should we read? And so there's book lists that we can give to them, and just really trying to encourage reading 1,000 books before kindergarten. I just had to put that picture in there too because she's so cute. That's Esther. She's getting reading her 200 books. So then we have other programs that just encourage literacy. Of course, we have materials and we have space for people to come and meet, either formally or informally. But we have lots of programs, children's programs. We have story times and science programs and concerts and multicultural story times. We do a program every February called Getting Ready for Kindergarten, which lays out the skills that you'll need to, that children will need to be ready for kindergarten. So I just put in a few. We have teen programs, of course. This is our Lego Palooza creation that this teen, Haley, did, and we have it down in our department if you'd like to take a look at it. So we do, programs for teens, programs for children, and then we do programs for adults. This is one of our favorite programs that we did this summer through the Adult Services Department. It was Read in the Park. And people came and just brought their blankets and they read, and there was snacks, and I went and laid out a blanket and read to the kids, and it was really nice. So so that's, just everything, all the programs that we do are geared toward bringing people into the library and increasing literacy, or just increasing knowledge, of science. We have the physics fan coming this weekend from the university. They're awesome. They're really, really good. And another thing that we do is outreach. There we are, freezing in October for the Read at the Market. But we go into all the schools. We do, I do a book club over at the middle school. Amber and Joel, Amber's not here anymore, but Joel goes into the middle school, does programming also. We do literacy presentations at the school and for teachers. We promote the library at festivals and community events. We were at the Sweet Corn Festival this year, and of course Read at the Market. And but we are not the only ones, of course, that are promoting literacy. We have a lot of partners, and these are just a few of the partners that we work with to promote literacy. We also work with the Humane Society, Senator Bennett's office, Carolina's office, the Cranert, just all kinds of people in the community trying to advance literacy. So does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Laura, are we the lead agency? I guess I see this thing. I've got friends in Chicago that the reading before they go to kindergarten, I can't believe what is happening in a park district. So are we the lead agency, the working with other agency? Are we the catalyst, or are we just one of?
Well, I think it depends on the program. It depends on, we're the lead for 1,000 books before kindergarten. But I consulted with the Urbana School District before we started. And so sometimes we're the lead and sometimes we're partners. Read Across America, went to the first meeting with them today. We're a partner in that. We're not the lead. So it just kind of depends on what program we're talking about.
Laura, are you able to work with the private preschools and nursery schools too?
We do. We visit all the daycares during the year. We go to all of them. They also come here for story times. And Canaan Academy we're their library. They don't have a library at their school. So they come and use our library, and they also come to story times, they come to programs. And we go over there and do book talks, and also we go sometimes just for parent nights, or poetry night, just to listen to.
How often is Canaan here?
Canaan is here, they're probably here every day.
Yeah.
The different grades are probably
If you
here.
haven't seen them, they're all over the building too.
Oh, they're cute. They're so cute with their little ties on and their little cardigan sweaters. So, no, they're great.
Laura, for the 1,000 Books program, is there some way you give extra credit for that 18-month to 2.5-year-old age where they want to read the same book over
Oh,
and
absolutely.
over? Okay.
I always tell people, especially for the summer reading program, there's no hard and fast rule here. We just want kids to read. So if they love that truck book and they want to read it 5 times, that's fine. You know, they can count it 5 times because that's what happens. So, and like I said, we're not trying to be, really militant here. We just want kids to read, be read to.
You mentioned a study from the 80s on the effect are the studies randomized trials, or are they, because there's so many different things one can do, and to try and find out which ones are most effective, randomized trials are about the only way. So
Well, I don't know how they ran the study, but
maybe I can try and.
that is, the report is called Becoming a Nation of Readers.
Okay.
And I just love that quote because, of course, that's how I feel, that you should be reading with your children. And, the language in books is so much richer than you're going to be talking to. Most parents are going to be talking to their children. So you're getting vocabulary, you're getting your child sitting next to you, you're having warm and fuzzy moments, and those children, they need, children need that. They need that rich language. They need to know how to learn how to rhyme concepts in books that you wouldn't normally get.
So, do you get? So you come out to the schools, you talk to everyone, and I can tell from who you're talking to who's going to show up at the library. But it seems to me there's a core of people that they don't get to the library. Their parents don't take them. If you have a contest to see how many books you can read, it would be not on their radar whatsoever. Is there any way to go beyond saying, here we are, come and find us? Is there,
Well, that's one of the reasons we do outreach, is to try and get those families into the library. We have a lot of families that come in that don't have computers at home, and so they use the library here. We try to make sure that the kids have books when they're here to look at and try to model, the behavior of sitting down and reading to your child. When I worked down in Martin County, we had the same problem. It's just like, how do you get those people in? And it's tough because you feel like you're working so hard to get everybody into the library, and yet, there's some people that don't come in. They don't feel comfortable coming in.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised at the number of kids I don't see at the farmer's market, though it's like just on the road kind of thing. It's a similar kind of thing. They just, certain things aren't on the radar. Another thing that I wanted to ask about was, I think I've said it again, and I'm sorry, but we have lots of Chinese students, kids, in our school, which is not meant for multilingual stuff. Do you have any special kind of outreach for those kind of?
We do go to Orchard Downs and do programming, and we also attend their festivals that they've had. We have somebody in our department that speaks Chinese, which is wonderful because you can see those parents come in and they're hesitant to talk, and then Shimei comes out and says something in Chinese, and it's like you could just see their demeanor. They're like, somebody. But we have a large foreign language section down in our department, and we also
Of books, you're saying?
Of books.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we also have multicultural story times. So we have all kinds of languages. We have Chinese and Japanese and Spanish and Greek and just...
No, I've noticed a couple of kids that once they discovered the library, every time I came here, they were there with their parents.
Mm-hmm. It's not the Chinese people that we have trouble getting into the library. They use the library. Yes.
Well, the third thing, I'm sorry, I'll give you a copy of it if you missed it, is there was an article in the New York Times, I think Monday or something about, or maybe it was last week, about some new study out of Europe, and it was high profile and all this about educational systems. And how if they balanced it for books in the home and things like that, all of a sudden the American educational system didn't look nearly as bad as it appeared to be. But it was that thing that caught my attention, that books in the home, which is basically reading to your kids, I think.
Well, it's good to have books in the home that you own that are there all the time. And that's why we give away books for summer reading, and any chance we can actually give away books, because the more you have books in your home, the more you're.
But for kids that wouldn't normally come in, or the parents wouldn't come in, that's like the only thing you can do is try and get books into their house, so when they get it at school, there's something at home that they.
Right, because you know, some children start school and they don't even know that a book opens like this, and that you read from left to right, and that you turn the page. I mean, it's sad.
Of course, now you have the little kids who see a book and they go like this.
Right.
Thinking that it will.
I almost did that today. I was looking at a book and I went like that, and I was like, oh, I guess that's not going to work, is it? So guess I have to put my reading glasses on, because that's not going to work. But yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to follow up on that.
So in some ways, they're ahead of us, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah. You mentioned families that don't have computers. But are there smartphone applications that can be used to help enhance the
Because they do have the
pre-K?
smartphones, don't they?
Well, we have, I think you can get 2 Tumble books through our app. We subscribe to a program. It's pretty inexpensive for what you get, but it's Tumble books that will read books to you. You can get it from home, or you can get it on our computers. I believe you can get it on a smartphone too, and an iPad that will read you books. It also underlines the word as it's going, so that's really helpful to learn. How to
Yeah, I would think families might find the smartphone is more practical for them than a computer, and so that would be the basis of what they would have to use too. So,
Yeah, you put your child in the grocery
as long as
cart.
that's on the checklist from our friends at Springfield. Sorry, see, I can't.
If you could figure out how
I can't
to
stop.
hook them to video games, so that in order to go to the next level, you have to read a book or something like that.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's a nice one.
Okay, we can make a lot of money on that. We should work on that.
Well, the other thing we're looking at, to speak to your point of when people don't come to the library, how to reach out to them, we're looking at when we talk to the daycare providers or
Yeah,
daycare providers, so that they can
Parks.
work with the whole class at a time, so they can have a chart for the class, because they know they're reading to the kids during the day. So they can check off so many books a day they've read to the kids, and then the class can complete as a whole, and all the kids can celebrate at the same time, and then all of them get their 500, they get to the 500, 1,000, because again, we don't care, it doesn't matter to us who's reading the books to the kids, whether it's grandma, whether it's grandpa, whether it's the library, it's a story time here, and we know that checking off the boxes is going to be too much work for some people. They have many other concerns that are more important. But if they're in the preschools, we're working with the preschools to say, how can we make this work for your kids in the preschool to be able to have that sense of completion and then to get the free books so that they are not. So we're working, that's one of our next steps.
Well, and Head Start would be an important place.
And we do go to Head Start and do programs and talk to the parents too. But
Is there any thought about lowering the threshold for give away books? I mean, 500 books is a lot of books. I'd rather get a free book in somebody's hand earlier. 50 books, 25 books,
Well, we could do
100 books.
every
I
100.
don't know.
I mean, we could do it every 100. That's just what we chose to.
Okay.
And these are being paid for by the Friends of the Library.
Mhm.
Thrilled.
Mhm.
Excellent.
It just seems to me
Thank you.
like it's such a massive project that unless we have some kind of synergy with a group of some sort that are all working at it, and I know you've got these, I just don't know where to really tie into it. I mean, I don't doubt that what you're doing, and you're doing a lot of different things, is all part of the game, but, you know, what does the school district do for children before they go to school? Anything?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Urbana Early Childhood Center has 366 children that are not, that are at risk or have a
Okay,
disability.
okay.
And
And
they go through the program. There's 12 classes in the morning and 12 classes in
Okay.
the afternoon. But then there's children that don't sign up for that. And if they don't they don't participate, then there's not much they can do.
There are recruiters who go out into the community to encourage participation too.
So they do. I mean,
Okay.
they do the best they can, I think. I know, if somebody could just unlock that, how do you get,
Yeah, yeah.
I think should I say? We were talking, I
Go
was
ahead.
listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying that Zuckerman, is that who's in charge of? Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Had given all this money to a New Jersey school district, and they were like, they were gonna do all these great things, and, it didn't really work out like they thought. So what else do you do? If you have, I forget how much it
It
was,
was
$10
$100
million,
million.
$100 million?
I think Bill Gates may have participated too.
So $100 million, I mean, what would you do with $100 million? I think you should pay parents to, if their kids are ready for school, they get a big bundle of money. I mean,
But the parents are probably not reading either.
that's another thing that we tell parents is one of the best things that you can do is let them see you reading for pleasure. Because if you're modeling that behavior, then that's, and we tell people, we tell parents point blank that that's what they should.
Well, they had some specific
Nicely
problems that we don't need to go into here, but I think the concept's still valid. I mean, if you have $100 million to give away, I'd still do it, just with different controls.
Right.
I
Well,
would
they
do-
are. They're doing it, but in a different way.
I would do randomized trials to find out what worked rather than just try and draw it out of my head. And then once you found out, other people could.
I think part of the money in New Jersey had to go to the Port Authority first or something like that. I think.
I don't remember that, but it just seems it was a lot.
Everything in New Jersey goes to the Port Authority.
We can talk about it later. Yeah.
Well,
So Lori, so you started
We
this,
have-
this has been going, this summer is the first start of this 1,000-book program.
October 1st.
October, gosh, I wrote, it's been
That's
like
okay.
3
We
days.
start October 1st.
So start October 1st. And so, as I see it, this is great. You're kind of taking the initiative, Urbana Library is taking the initiative on this. You've already identified some partners, and I can see as you go through the first year and maybe take on more partners or see what works or adjust this to then figure out, is this time frame a year and then you evaluate, you see whether you're going to change anything? Are you going to make tweaks all along?
We tweak. I mean, we tweak things all the time.
Okay.
We tweak, timing for program, and Celeste just went to ILA and came back with a really great idea, and so we're.
I'm thinking more of like having a baseline and then how are you going to, in a sense,
Expand
measure
on it.
success?
How we're gonna expand on it,
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's just wonderful. It's
Yeah,
a really
it
nice.
just started. It's been up and running for 5 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
But it's,
Yeah, I
it's
guess
going
it is
well.
already November. Yeah, to me
because
it's
I
like
do think
summer.
you're going to have to measure.
Well,
Something.
but measuring reading readiness is not an easy thing to do, so.
I'm thinking more
But I think
measuring
this
the
is-
Right,
participation.
that's
That's,
how we'll have to
that's
measure.
the, for what the
That's-
library initiative is you start this from ground zero and you have so many participants and it's just a great idea.
Yeah, persistence is another one too, but this is one of the most important things we do.
Yeah.
So,
It is.
Doesn't
Thank you very much.
WILL also do something in various
We have
communities? Is
partnered
there
with
something?
WILL,
Because they've been
and-
They do. Yeah.
been trying to get volunteers to participate in some program that I didn't check
Something I
into.
ran
Well,
into.
they actually
Right.
bought some of our math kits that we're
Yeah.
checking out, and they came and did a program with us, and so we have, and they've come to do programs with us before.
So I think there are lots of possibilities. I'm glad to see that we're doing this. I feel like it's terrific.
Okay, thank you very much,
You're
Laura.
welcome.
Very interesting.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the October 13 meeting, the approval of the bills of October 1 and 21, and the payroll of October 30th, and the bills for November 4.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This is a nice way to post this, Celeste. I think you get a better picture.
It's very nice.
Okay, moving into action items. We last time had a lot of policy thrown at you. We decided that it was for discussion last week, so let's start with the technology plan. Does anybody have, well, first of all, can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second to that. Okay, discussing. Anything that you saw in the last week that you wanted to question or look at again? If not, you ready to vote? All those in favor of the technology plan for 16-18, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, sir. Okay, the library collection management policy. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
A second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion, comments, ideas, questions?
Maybe it was because it was the first one on the agenda, I had the energy to start reading at least the first few paragraphs. But I noticed there's some changes right at the beginning in the collection management responsibility, and I wasn't 100% sure what that's about. The words look quite similar to the words that were already there, but there must be some reason why it can change. Of course, that's somewhat of a generic reaction to a lot of little wording changes, but, you know, a lot of documents, but in this case, it looked like there was some point to it, but.
Can you be specific as to what
Okay,
you're-
collection management responsibility, this,
This one, Chris.
before it said basically the executive director would supervise.
What page is that?
Michael,
I-
what page is it?
It's
Page
2 of 5.
2 of 5, right at the top.
Yeah,
Before it said delegated to the professional staff of the various units, and now it says delegated to the
Staff.
Staff.
Staff under the.
under the general super.
Is that not,
So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
is that not because the professional staff tend to see librarians, whereas this is more than, it's the entire staff, right? Is that,
This gives us the opportunity to reflect the reality that sometimes we have clerical staff who participate in the weeding or purchasing process. So we wanted to reflect that not only librarians make suggestions for purchase. For example, Caleb Wilson has been a big part of the board game collection development. And Brian Robertson in acquisitions also participates in music selection as well. So we want to use the talents of our staff who are willing to do that. So that's why we made the staff more general. And then we just thought that it was more clear to say upfront, the executive director has overall responsibility and it's delegated down. We looked at some other documents, some different guidelines that talked about how to write a collection development policy, and that they said the state study seems more upfront. So that's what we're going for.
are there other questions? If not, all those in favor of approving the library collection management policy, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, moving on to the children's services. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Are there questions? Very minor here, I think it's, I can't even remember that there was anything.
Yeah, some deletions in here.
Yeah. No questions? All those in favor of passing the children's service collection management policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Adult services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Are there questions?
Just one, it's not about a change actually, but just going over the criteria. One of them is publication date. And when that came up as part of a big ruckus a couple of years ago, I didn't understand why publication date was relevant. I guess that's what I understand.
Sure.
I'm sure
Can you just say what page, are you on page 5? Were you
Let's see,
looking-
I'm on my notes right now. So
Okay.
there was a list of
Criteria.
criteria, yes, for
Okay.
withdrawal on page 5. And all of them had a pretty obvious reason except for publication date. I just wondered-
That is relevant mostly with nonfiction. So for example, if you have medical or legal books, there are guidelines that say you want to keep those perhaps 3 to 5 years, but no more than that, because medical and legal information is more likely to change more quickly.
Okay.
Whereas something like Darwin's Voyage of the Beagle
Okay.
is going to be more
Yeah,
timeless. So
yeah.
you look at the collection in particular subsets based and
Okay.
use publication dates.
So it's for those
specific to
sorts of
series.
things that,
Computer use manual.
Computer use.
Computer manual.
gotcha.
6 months?
6 months.
Put the card in here.
Or 3.0 for Mac. Take your 400K disk.
Some of the social sciences as well are things you want to be careful of, because we're not a research collection. The research library is very close by. So some things become dated, and we want to be thoughtful of new approaches to things.
okay.
And one that hit us at that time, a couple of years ago, was the religious section. Because if you've got scripts from Bibles 200 years old, they're still relevant today for ministers who want to come in and research them. So publication date is not necessarily the newest date. Okay, all those in favor of this policy, the adult services collection, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The next one is the archives collection management. Do I hear a motion?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there questions?
It's nice to see that agreement from 87.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't that
Just knock them all down.
make us ashamed?
We're getting through 'em.
No questions or discussion points? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, thank you. Okay, items for discussion on circulation policy. That's new tonight, so if you have any questions, there's no action to be required. You had time to look at it and know if you've got any questions. Circulation in the interlibrary loan, isn't it?
I like the change.
I love the
from-
change.
To renewal
Yes.
5 times, that's great.
It's really nice. I
Maybe
think
we
that'll make a lot
got,
of our patrons happy.
we maybe got pushed into that by Champagne, did we?
No.
No, oh, I thought,
They only
I thought
hired
you said.
three.
Oh, they only had
This
three.
is patron driven.
One of the questions I have about interlibrary loan is, when does it, if we were to take a book in from a Champagne patron or whatever, a Champagne book, when does it get actually logged in?
We check Champagne books in right away.
Right
And they
away?
check our books in right away.
Okay,
We share that same system.
okay. Any other questions on those policies? Okay, that'll be next month. The travel policy?
Oh, yes, I have a question. For example, if we check out books from the Champagne Library and we want to renew them, can it be done here? Or we have to go all the way to the Champagne Library?
You can renew them here if there are no holds.
I see.
And you can
Okay,
renew
so-
online if there are no holds.
Thank you.
It'd be the same as if you were going online, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there other questions about the travel and training policy? Well, consider that before next month's meeting.
Yeah, it's quite- so-
And the bylaws of the board. And basically, the bylaws of the board we changed last month, but do you think there was a couple things that were found? I'm not seeing it in front of me. is it?
Secretary Pro Tem.
Yeah, Secretary Pro Tem. That was basically what we did tonight.
And the removal for cause.
And remove the cost, yeah.
Thought those were good.
Okay, I think we, again,
And then you have to change the acceptance date at the end, page 5 of 5. Look at the last page, which, that'll happen, but,
the date and such.
yeah, look at the
Yeah.
very last page.
It
It's not-
amended October 13th.
October
The date
13th.
that we have is October 13, it should be changed now to December.
We can't approve
whatever,
that,
whatever.
can we?
Well, this is just discussion this month.
Yeah, right.
What happens is I didn't update the footer, the header, that's my fault. So I'll just update the header with the newest date, which would be December.
December 8, which is what you have on the
Yeah.
previous one that we just discussed. It's cosmetic more than anything.
Reports of liaison, anything new from the Friends?
Well, are we doing the
Oh.
Friends? Did we enter the item for discussion, the addition to the agenda, which was the
Right,
Friends?
well, I'll do that
Yeah.
in my report.
In your
report,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have two things to talk about. First of all, well, three things. First of all, I missed the meeting last week. I'm not quite sure why, but I did. But I do know that the Friends book sale is taking place, and I hope all of you will go, because as you've just learned, a lot of the money from the book sale benefits the program we were just hearing about. So more incentive to attend the sale. Plus, I don't know whether this came up at last month's meeting, which I did not attend, but this I find an astonishing number. Since 1980, the Friends have raised $383,617. That's pretty darn good. So come to the book sale and add a couple bucks to that number, okay? It's a deal, huh? All right, then, the memorandum of understanding, which was in your packet.
Yes.
I don't like sheets with just a sea of words.
Suggestions?
You need to have, there need to be breaks, it needs to be easy to look at, and so I reformatted this, and Celeste distributed what I had, what I suggested. I did not change anything. I did edit a couple of sentences, but it did not change the meaning. The one change, you'll see at the bottom, where I took out "and the library's board of trustees." If you look above, every time you say library, it means the board of the Urbana Free Library, so that's redundant, so you don't need that. And then I decided that at the end, we should have a section for agreement between the two entities. So that's why you have a third section that is the library and the Friends. They mutually agree on these two additional items, which were also, they're all in there, it's just they're reorganized. That's really all this is.
And it's my understanding that they have already approved this.
They have not, they have approved the memorandum of understanding itself, but not this format. I did this afternoon.
Okay.
They've approved the content.
They approved the content. So I don't think they'll have any trouble with this, but it does need to go back to them. And again, it's in part because I missed last week.
And again, we will approve this next meeting. Yeah.
I do like the reformatting, I think it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I can see what you've done, I've done.
That is all my report, and since I wasn't there, if there was something else, Celeste can tell you about it.
That was the primary focus.
Okay.
So the book sale will be November 19th for the members' night, and then the 20th through the 23rd, with Sunday being the half-price book day and Monday being the free book day.
And I will tell you, they got a huge collection of coffee table books, some of which have never been removed from their wrappers, and they're going to put a price on those, I'm sure, but come Thursday, join the Friends and come Thursday night, and they'll be available.
It's hard
If
to,
you can beat me.
it's hard to sell those. People don't want coffee table books anymore, but maybe they make great Christmas presents.
Just keep it circulating.
Give them to somebody else who doesn't want them.
Coffee table coffee cake books.
I don't know how many huge is, because, do you know?
I can show you later, they've got a.
She told me it was a big collection.
So how did sorry, one of my interests, how do you determine the price of these books?
Very liberally, very low, really.
Price to sell.
No, just
Price to sell,
Yeah.
there's the
I
appropriate
have friends
phrase.
that work for the Champagne book sale, and it's only scuttlebutt, but I worry about these kind of things, that the books that go on sale have been picked through by certain people who then, buy them at a bargain price and they join the book sale staff in order to get books that they can sell on eBay for a lot more money. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know how you avoid that, but it's,
Well, there are dealers who come through. I mean,
The Thursday night is
friends-
dealers as
Friends
well.
know them, and they have a relationship with them.
They do pull books aside that look to be of special value, and Barb Meyer looks them up to look for values on different websites, like
Okay.
A-Books and other places. Sometimes staff will bring them to her attention. When the donations come in, staff get to look through and put books aside for themselves to pay whatever the going price is. And so Barb evaluates those, or other people say, well, this one's actually, instead of being 50 cents for paperback, this is more rare, it would be $2 or $10 or whatnot. So they don't catch everything, certainly, because you can't, but they do try to avoid that. We had a staff person, there were some Lincoln books in a set, and they were gonna sell them for $1 a piece, and the staff person said they should be $10 a piece, and they marked them $10 a piece, and they all sold at that higher price, so.
Ooh, 90% return on that one.
Maybe they should have been $12 a piece.
They were not sold.
We're not greedy.
No.
Okay. The Urbana Free Library Foundation. You want to report? I can't remember what we did.
Sure, I'll be happy to report. They had 3 main topics that they talked about. They're looking to have the members on the board bring potential new member names at their January meeting, because they'll have people going off the board. For the foundation, you can be on the board up to 2 terms of 3 years, then you have to be off for a period of time. So they're looking for the current board members to have suggestions of people. So if you know of people who would like to support the library and by joining the foundation, that would be great. Let them know. Let
Is there
Christine
a
know.
job description of what the foundation does that we could,
Raise money.
Yes.
But they
and
do
support
more
the
than
library
that,
in
don't
other ways.
they?
I didn't mean to talk over, go ahead.
yeah,
There's a very lovely packet that Graphics has just developed for the foundation that they hand out to potential members. I'd be happy to show you one sometime.
Yes,
It
I'd like
talks
to see
about
that.
what they have done in the past and what they look
Okay.
to do.
okay.
So that was one piece of what they talked about. They are currently, Kathy and Mike Munson at the city, who's on the foundation board representing the city, are working on the fall appeal letter. Last year, they raised about $25,000 from the fall appeal letter, which was up by over $5,000 the year before. And then the third thing they're looking at is, given the facilities concerns that the library is facing that are large, the foundation has created a ad hoc fundraising committee with the president, Larry Jobe, Barb Meyer, who is on both the Friends and the Foundation, and then Mike Munson at the city, to see what they would consider doing to help raise funds to support the library's large capital expenses that are upcoming. So those are the 3 main takeaways.
Any questions? If not, the Heartland Library System. Jeff, anything to report?
Yeah, I'm starting to get a reputation, I think, because I was asking those kind of questions. So they recently tried to change their hiring policy, and I think I asked you about it. They want to be able to hire relatives. And apparently that's okay. I mean, as long as you make sure the relatives don't report to in the same department. But it was voted way down, and it's very interesting. So they have to justify why they want to change that policy, and that's going to be the next meeting. So, but I brought up those kinds of things, like when they sell equipment, vans. Sure, they advertise certain places, but an inordinate amount seem to go to staff members and people like
Insiders.
that. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I've been there and I know how that works, but it's sort of like hiring is the same way. Sure, you should be able to hire anybody, but that means that you should be able to tell the world that the job's there and not just certain people. So anyway, I'm on the personnel committee and the facilities committee, so I'm right in the middle of those areas that I seem to be harping on about. So, and then the third thing is, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, they still don't have a budget. They're going on a wish and a dream, doing the things the state library tells them to do, even though they're not funded. And they're starting to worry about, are we legally, should we be doing these things even though there's no money there? We're spending money that wasn't allocated for it. And they have plenty of money in reserve to run for over a year But in lieu of, I mean, just in light of what's going on, they've frozen all hires for the time being.
Administrative report. In addition to what you presented to us, Celeste, do you have additional comments?
I have some highlights.
Highlights, okay.
So when I went to the Illinois Library Association conference, Kip, who is the lobbyist for ILA, talked a bit about what is happening in Springfield, which, as he said, was not a lot. He called the discussions or lack of discussions a titanic struggle between the governor. I don't know if that's capital T as in the ship, or just lowercase t as in the early gods. But he said the governor was saying that perhaps a budget in January, but he thought the governor's being optimistic, that it is very possible. Now, Skip, of course, is a lobbyist, so he's going to frame things from a lobbyist perspective to move his point ahead. So let me just say that, we know that. But once January comes and goes, then you get into primary election season, and it's possible that people might not want to move ahead on unpopular budget decisions right before primaries. Then after that, it gets close to the end of the fiscal year. And so they really don't know when a budget might be passed. We, the library here, have $52,000 that we expect to get, but we hope to get, but we don't expect to get. So as a staff, we've been looking to see, that being said, if we don't receive this $52,000, how will we come up with the money to do the things we would have done with that money, which currently was the staff raises. So it is important to us to provide staff raises, so we've been looking for other options. And so we will continue to look. Hopefully we'll have something for you in the next couple of months. The city council met yesterday, and they discussed the upcoming levy on this year, and the levy that they put forward and are moving to the next session in December will make our budget whole for the budget they approved for the library for this fiscal year. So the taxing year is the calendar year, and our fiscal year runs July to June. So each fiscal year has 2 calendar years in it, and so it's always a little tricky to know how much you're actually going to get. And then, of course, whatever you levy, you never get the full 100% amount anyways, because not everyone pays their taxes. But we were very thankful that the city council did move that ahead.
And
There was a
so the
recommendation.
city's not waiting, sorry, Chris. City's not waiting for any money from the state that will impact their own budget, and therefore, I meant to read up on this. And so what are the dependencies for the city's budget on state funding that could have an impact on the library's budget for the city?
Well, luckily for us, the library's budget comes from the property taxes
Right.
strictly, and most of the other part of the city's budget comes elsewhere.
Right.
The city's budget for property taxes is the library, police and fire pensions, and then their general fund.
Right.
So it's very limited what the property taxes do for the city. And so they have a time constraint by state law. They have to approve a levy
Okay,
before the end of
that
this
was a
calendar
missing
year.
piece
And
there.
there's a timeline on when they initially put it forward as a draft and when they approve it. I believe it's 20 days, but there's a period of days between one and the other, and it has to be approved
Okay.
before the end of the year. So they don't know what they're gonna get from the state, but they still have to pass the levy. And they are being conservative because, of course, they want the tax rates to be competitive between Urbana and Champaign.
Champaign, right.
Currently, the tax rates at the city level is very close. It's within, I thought they said 4.5 cents, $1.31-ish and $1.35-ish per $100,000. But it's when you add in the schools and the parks and things that it becomes more like 8 something per 100,000 and then 10 something per 100,000. And so you go from just pennies apart to 25% apart, and that's where the concern comes, because Urbana as a city wants to be competitive, so people want to move here and bring their businesses here.
Okay, thanks.
So we talked a little bit before about Ameren, and we have some numbers we're working with the city about. The gas company used to give free therms, which worked out really well. Then you didn't have to pay certain fees that go in with paying your bill. So the city staff and I are working on what is a fair proportion of the $86,000 that the city received from Ameren that would be designated to pay the library's gas bill. We're working through that. And then we'll know, do we expect it to be, so we didn't budget for the gas bill because we haven't paid gas in the past, except for a couple $1,000s here and there if we went over if the whole city went over its allocation. So again, hopefully by next month, that will be resolved as well, and I can come to you with more surety about what we have some expected expenses to be. But it looks like it'll be it's a nice fair process we're working through. Those are pretty much the important things.
Tell me what our sequence is. When do we have to present a budget to the city? April?
April-ish.
Yeah.
So I believe that the board here passes a budget in April, and then in May, there are discussions at the city, and then city council approves it in June. So it's like in April, May, June. We'll bring you a draft budget in March probably. But we're already starting conversations on our side saying, well, what are we gonna need to do in February to make sure you have what you need in March?
Do we want to appoint an ad hoc committee to help discussion? We did have last year. And are you interested in us having that from the board, an ad hoc committee?
If you would like to have one, I don't think we need to meet until after January
Yeah.
because it's premature.
Yeah, I
Maybe
guess.
we
let's
revisit
wait.
it in January.
Yeah, we can, but I guess I wanted you to start thinking of whether we had one last year, and I think that we probably want to have some input.
It
at
worked out
least.
nicely last year.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Okay, the only thing under unfinished business that do we want to report on the archives from Chanute for any reason? That was a question that was raised last time, I think.
I'm in touch with Mark Hansen. Majority of the material at the Chanute Museum are planes, big planes. Don't have room. And, they're being distributed in parts to various museums around the country. Also, in terms of other museum objects, material is going to the Museum of the Grand Prairie. And the material that I'll be interested in reviewing with Mark Hansen, who's the curator, is the archival material, which I think is quite substantial.
Photographs and such?
Photographs, there are two issues. One of the issues, as far as I know, and I haven't, inspected the material carefully. A lot of the archival material, there's a lot of just interfiling of material. So it's not, it's going to take some time to actually assess inventory. What are archival records? What are the records of Chanute? Their operating records. And so I think there's still work to be done to just identify what records would be archival and would be of possible interest to us. Obviously, photographs and any kind of material documenting the base and its history. The big problem right now is that all the archival records are in a quarantined area because of asbestos.
Oh.
And so neither the curator, Mark Hansen, or I can have access. So, and he is not sure when that abatement is going to take place and what the process is going to be to clean it up. But currently that room is sealed and he cannot access it.
You can't put the hazmat suits on and just have a little peek?
She doesn't want to.
I'll ask. Yeah, no, I know. So that's the update he gave me just a couple weeks ago. I mean, I essentially, I read stories in the newspaper, or there was a story on 580 last week, and he was interviewed. And, so I emailed him right away, and when the news came out that it was going to be closing a month earlier even. It's going to close at the end of the year, but now it's going to close at the end of November. And so I emailed him right away, and he said, yes, of course, you are still my go-to person for the archives, but unfortunately right now we're in a holding pattern.
Well, I'm sure Chanute played a big part in our county. We're
yes.
the repository of county stuff, so there will be things there. I don't know how you're gonna get at them, but.
Chris, can I add something to the?
Yes.
I forgot something in my financial report that I think will make you very happy. In talking about the Ameren bill and looking at gas, and you, the board, are talking to people, and we have talked with people, and the library's being very responsible about our facilities. The city has reached out to us and is talking with us about, and Kathy's working on a project to pull together information on our HVAC system and window system. The city's interested in possibly replacing those for the library.
Oh, my.
So it is a discussion, but part of it's pulling together what information we have. We mentioned that the city was going to be hiring an HVAC consultant that we would work with for our own purposes, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that nothing is set in stone, certainly, but they did reach out to us, and we are working with them in this manner. We're hopeful.
I was wondering if you were gonna tell us that.
I couldn't read my note there.
But the mere fact they reached out is
That's great.
fantastic.
So.
Doesn't say what happened.
So
And
that
can-
needs assessment survey, so is it pretty much complete? I was looking through it actually, and so this is up the best estimates at this point.
They are best estimates. I mean, for some of those things,
You're right,
it
they're-
was very hard to figure out what they would be, even in terms of, as you read my
Yes.
attachment, it was, you had to figure out inflation costs.
Mhm.
And getting hold of people, I had kind of estimated in doing some research on my own, inflation was about 2 to 3% on construction costs. And when I had contacted Bill Gray, he emailed me after I had submitted it, but I was right on target, so.
Whoa,
Ooh.
very impressive.
So.
Yeah, I thought it was put together very clear. I was very impressed with how you came up with the numbers, and it was nicely done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other items that should be brought to the board, attentions of the board tonight?
We had that travel policy in our packet. What was that there for?
We
It was
passed.
just an
Was it
update.
We passed.
It was just an update?
We-
Okay.
Yeah. If not, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Thank you.